Hey everyone, today I just wanted to do a showcase of something that I've been working on, and this is a overworld only, of course, creeper farm that fits entirely within the R44 radius that is new. Well, not entirely new, but I'll get on that more later. And yeah, basically this is built so that it fits within the R44 despawn radius. And well, I also position the spawn platforms above the player so that the mobs fall down and don't despawn when they fall outside of R44 if it were positioned elsewhere. And yeah, there are some flaws which I want to discuss, and I also want to discuss some design choices in making this farm. And I wouldn't exactly recommend building this farm. It is more just a showcase than anything, and because stuff keeps changing in betas, etc., I don't really want to do a tutorial either, because well, if I'm gonna do a tutorial and it breaks after about 2 weeks, then I'm not gonna be happy. Instead, I'm just going to do a showcase. And there is something else very cool that is not just having the farm located inside the R44 range, but also something very cool about the layouts that I want to show you. Alright, I the player am sitting right here, and this is my little AFK spot. And as you can see, this creeper farm is not trident killer based like most of my other mob farms. It is fall damage based, and there is a reason for that. So you may notice on the top of the screen that it says beta 1.16.20.50, and in this version they introduced something where mobs will only spawn 24 to 44 blocks from the player instead of 24 to 54. This is very bad for a large amount of reasons, notably that the spawnable area for mobs gets reduced than less than half, so that's really bad, and overall it's just not very good. And there also is the instant despawn range, which is just beyond the spawn range, so where mobs cannot spawn anymore, they will instantly despawn. So from 24 to 44 they spawn, it used to be 24 to 54, and from 44 onwards they will just instantly despawn. Now note that this only applies to when your world simulation distance is set to 4 chunks. When your world simulation distance is set to 6 chunks or higher, technically even 5 chunks or higher, then mobs will only despawn starting 128 blocks away from you, but they will still spawn 24 to 44 blocks away from you. That is a change that they have carried over in this 1.16.20.50 beta, and applies to all simulation distances. So even simulation distance 6 and higher. Now you may notice that this farm is not trident killer based like most of my previous mob farms, but this farm is indeed fall damage based. So the creepers will spawn above you and they will fall down onto the magma platform. Killing mobs with fall damage means a variety of different things. The first one will be that compared to trident killers, you will not get any experience. And of course, since you cannot apply the player kill, you also cannot apply looting like you can with a trident killer. That effectively means that you of course need to kill the mobs much faster than when you were using trident killers. And in general, using fall damage to kill the mobs is more expensive because you have to have a collection system with minecars and whatnot. So why am I using fall damage over trident killers in this farm right here? Well, the answer is because of the new 24 to 44 spawn range that they have introduced to all simulation distances in the 1.16.20.50 beta. So let me just give you a rough idea of what I mean. This is something that you have seen previously. This is my creeper farm v3 that I did a video on, and that was only a showcase as well because I did the video right before 1.16 released. And well, this farm used something that we call a split density check layout. If you don't really care what the exact meaning behind this is, basically it just means that they're spaced out further, and it basically means that one of these sides will not affect the other in terms of how many mobs are alive. If you want to actually know how it works, well, it is rather simple. When a mob spawn attempt is made, so let's say an attempt is made on this block right here, it will account for the density check. Now, what is the density check? Basically, the spawn attempt will take the chunk in which the spawning space is and it will check in an area of 9x9 chunks around that center chunk. Of course, the 9x9 area is centered on the chunk the spawn attempt was made in, and it will check for the density cap. So let's say the creepers, there can only be a certain amount of creepers in that 9x9 area before the game will not spawn any creeper here. And well, if that density cap happens to be filled, it will not spawn any creeper. Because it is a 9x9 chunk area, and of course it is centered on the chunk in which the spawn attempt is made, it will check 4 chunks out in every direction from the center chunk. And this is where this split density check method comes in. Basically what we do is that we have 4 chunks in between those 2 sides. And what that will basically mean that whenever a spawn attempt is made on one side, it won't be able to reach the creepers that are in the other side, and it basically just means that more creepers can be alive at once when this split density check method is used. By the way, this is something from Dr. Gent's Science, so if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description to his channel. He's an exploit member and he is excellent at mob farms. Now this sure sounds cool, but how does it relate to me using fall damage instead of trident killers in the design that I showed before? Well, quite simply, because now the mob spawning range has been reduced by 10 blocks, so from 24 to 54 to 24 to 44, the spawning spaces on either side will just not fit within this sphere anymore, and it's a little sad. And in fact, well, often when the mobs fall down here, even if it's in the center one and not in the outer ones, they will just despawn as they fall down, because, well, the spawning and despawning range is so tiny. And this basically means that this split density check method is not as viable anymore, and it basically means that we cannot have as many creepers alive at once in the same farm. And if the overall cap we can use is reduced, then what we have to do is resort to fast killing instead of slow killing with a higher cap. And although using trident killers multiplies the output of loot by quite a bit, because you can use the looting 3 enchant on trident killers, the benefit of using fall damage based mob farms still outweighs the use of trident killers with the looting 3. That is when you have the 24 to 44 spawning range. So that is exactly what this design does. So one, it uses very fast killing, so this uses a special layout that I developed yesterday, and it basically allows super fast killing of the creepers because the water pushes them off, and this has a 62.5% density, and that is about the highest you can do with water pushing that is less than 2 blocks, and the fast killing of course is allowed by utilizing fall damage. And secondly, it is positioned above you so that when the mobs fall down, don't despawn if they were to fall outside of the R44 range. And thirdly, the spawning platforms mostly all fit within the 24 to 44 spawning range. There are some corners cut because, well, it actually is ridiculously small, but these 6 platforms of 3x3 chunks about fit inside of the R44 range. Now 3 chunks and 6 layers with this complicated layout is an absolute pain. I know this is technically the densest layout for very fast water push based killing, but the amount of effort invested compared to the return in terms of rates is, I would say personally, overall just not worth it. So you get about 42 stacks per hour from this farm, and for something of this size it is really bad. It is not a fault of the design. This is about the best you can do with one square that fits inside of R44. You could of course add more spawning spaces around here, somewhere around here, and well, just completely around you, but that is overall just very complicated, and this is about the simplest layout that you could use that has a very fast killing and whatnot. But yeah, it's just, well, not an understatement, really bad, and it is the R44 radius that I'm talking about. When you crank the world simulation distance up to simulation distance 6, you can already use quite a step up, because you can allow yourself for the mobs to fall outside of the 44 range, so you could just have another one of those positioned below you, and that would also increase the rates by quite a bit. But still, the nerf that is present to mob spawning, so that the spawning range has been reduced from 24 to 54 to 24 to 44, is also pretty awful. However, if you go back to the current 1.16.1 version and play on a world with simulation distance of 6, you get the 24 to 54 radius and you still get the 128 despawn radius. So that's basically the best of both worlds when you still are in 1.16.1. Luckily, the new changes that have been made to the mob spawning range are still in beta, so of course, as I said many times now, I am in the beta 1.16.20.50, and well, this beta introduced the nerf to the mob spawning range. Now, if you're wondering why this happened in the first place, it is just because the instant despawn range on Simulation Distance 4 has to be 44 blocks for various technical reasons, and well, that is something a little bit inconvenient when you have the 24 to 54 spawn radius, because there was an area where mobs would spawn and then instantly despawn, and yeah, that caused quite a bit of lag. And so a solution needed to be found, and what the developers did in the 1.16.20.50 beta, I kind of get tired of saying that number, is that they just reduced the spawning range so that the despawning and spawning ranges don't overlap anymore. Which is, it's okay for a temporary fix, but well, it is not a permanent fix to be done. And the worst part, of course, is that it does not only just apply to the simulation distance of 4, but it applies to all simulation distances. So no matter what you play on, even if you have a more capable device, your mob farms will be nerfed. So enough talk about that. If you are in my Discord communities, you've probably already heard enough of that. And wink wink nudge nudge, by the way, you can join both the exploit and my Discord, link in the description. Now let's talk about the other cool part of this farm, and that is this creeper farm layout. So as you might have noticed, this creeper farm layout is different to my V1, my V2 and my V3 layouts, and it is also different to the V4 layouts that I showed yesterday on stream. And well, this one is actually very dense, so there are a lot of spawning spaces and not a lot of stuff that is blocked, and it is absolutely great. So I just have some models set up right here, and that basically just demonstrates what density each layout has. So this is my version 1 layout, and this is 25%, and basically it's because there are 1 out of 4 spaces. You have to account for the buttons taking up space. And yeah, it is basically 1/4 of spaces, and it does not have any water push, so it is very slow because it both has low amounts of spawning spaces and you have to wait for the creepers to walk off. And next we have my V2 waffle layout, and I see them being used a lot on YouTube, and I think that's pretty cool because it just means that people watch my stuff. And by the way, thank you for 30,000 subscribers, I do really appreciate it. And for this layout there are 3 out of 8 spaces used, so that is 37.5%, and it does not have any water push at all. And with this design, they only have 1x1 holes to walk into, and well, they cannot walk just off the sides like anywhere like this, like they can in my V1 layout. So it is fairly slow, but it has more spawning spaces than this one. Next up, let's just take a quick look at my V3 layout. This uses 8 out of 20 spaces for spawn, and it is 40%, and what this one uses is water, of course, which the previous one did not. And well, this is already a big improvement over these two ones because well, it is a higher percentage of spawning spaces, and they do get to be pushed around by water so that they have a lower lifetime. However, the water push is pretty long, so that is not all that good for mob farms where you want to kill them with fall damage. And it is pretty good for ones with trident killers because it has a higher spawn space percentage than these two ones. And well, you can push them into the trident killers, but yeah, I wouldn't say they're very good for fall damage based. Now this is the layout that I took inspiration from to make both the V3 and the V5 that I'm going to show you after, but this is the one from the Survival Apparatus Communication server called SAC, and it is a Chinese Bedrock tech server. I am in their Discord, and well, they are pretty cool. They shared this layout, and this one uses a very fast water push, so the water stream is very short, and it uses 3 out of 6 spaces. So those 3 spaces are spawnable, and well, those other 3 are not, and that means that it effectively has 50% of spawning spaces that can be spawned. And because it is water that is very short, they will get pushed off very fast, and this is absolutely great for, well, using fall damage based mob farms, especially in 1.16, because we cannot use split density checks anymore and whatnot. We will just have to rely on using fall damage and fast killing more, and yeah, this one is pretty great. And lastly, we have the layout that you see in this farm right here. This is my V5, and this uses 5 out of 8 spaces for creepers spawning, and this means that it effectively is 62.5% of spaces that can be used for creeper spawning. First of all, right here I am using the spider blocking layout from R44, so link to that is in the description as well, and it more or less looks like this, and this layout does indeed block spiders. So let me just get an example. So if, for example, something tries to spawn here, a spider will not be able to spawn, neither here, here, and well, basically you get the idea. And so this is something that I use here. Of course, right here I only have one section to demonstrate what the density of the spaces are, but we can take a look at it here now that I showed all the others. And yeah, I am using this spider blocking layout from R44. Next, I am using water, of course, and on top of scaffolding, and the scaffolding basically still allows mobs to spawn inside of it, notably creepers, and well, the water on top will not block the creepers, so they will get pushed off. And the special part here is that indeed 5 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, can be used for spawning, and the very important aspect of still killing the creepers as fast as possible is preserved. So technically you can go more dense with, well, spawning spaces, but you won't get the creepers pushed off as fast. So here it will take less than 2 blocks for any creeper to get pushed off the edge. Now, if you are confused why creepers in these spaces will get pushed off by the water streams, the answer is fairly simple, and it is that mobs always spawn in the northwest corner of a block. So let's say a creeper wants to spawn on this block, it will actually appear here. And because that happens, we can make sure that no matter where the creepers actually are, they will always get pushed off. These are all 3 white strips, and that is improvement over the 2 white strips that the SAC layout uses, so it's safe to say that this is at the moment the densest creeper farm layout that uses fast water push. So that means water push that is less than 2 blocks overall and will guarantee fast killing. I do, however, agree that this is an absolute pain to build, and other designs will be far easier to build. This is just basically peak performance in terms of creeper farm layouts. So what about a tutorial for this then? Well, I don't think that I'm going to do a tutorial for any mob farm anytime soon, because, well, they are still constantly changing stuff with mob farms. However, if you are interested in seeing how this design exactly works, and maybe you just want to build it, although I would not recommend it, there is a world download in the description. And yeah, despite that this world has been open on 1.16.20.50 beta, it will still be able to be opened in, let's say, the 1.16.1 stable. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this showcase, and personally I find this layout fairly cool, although the results are not too impressive because, well, only 42 stacks per hour. But well, yeah, and it is quite a large effort for the amount of raids that you get. So of course, like I said, would not recommend building it at the moment. So you know, this water push layout is fine. It's just that it is very limited in how you can position your spawn spaces at the moment because of the R44 range. But with that being said, I hope that you found this showcase interesting, and well, I guess I hope to see you around soon again, and I hope you appreciated this video. Bye!